Hello and welcome to another Capture the Flag edition of Daryl Show Your Work, episode 127 to be exact. All right, so what I'll be doing in this episode, I'm actually going to be exploiting CVE 2013 10,000 old 35. All right, so what that CVE is it's associated with an application known as a process maker. All right, so before I dive any deeper into that, I'm going to give my usual disclaimer here in the beginning of the video that since I'm doing offensive security or red teaming activity, that this is for educational, research, and ethical purposes only. Any sort of malicious actions that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching my video, I don't take any responsibility for, nor do I condone. Okay, so what Process Maker is, it's an AI enriched low code platform for a business process automation that helps organizations do things like design, automate, and optimize complex workloads. All right, so there is a vulnerability in a version of this that I'm going to exploit, and I'm going to go into what that vulnerability is once we get deeper here into the process. All right, so some pre a recording discovery that I've done here is finding our target's IP address where they're located at 10.3.28.239. All right, so to get things started, I'm going to run a simple nmap server against our target here. All right. All right, just waiting for things to load up here. All right. Trying to move this on out the way. There we go. Slowly but surely. Okay. All right. So I'm running a service version scan on this. Let's see. Let's copy our target host, and I'm gonna paste it here. All right. And let's see what what ports are open, and what protocols they're hosting, and the services that are running um, on those ports. This may take a little while, so just a bit of patience here. All right. So it looks like we have quite a few ports open here. We have port 80, which is hosting this the default protocol, the protocol associated with it by default, which is HTTP. It looks like it's running an Apache server. Let's see. We have looks like we have SMB open here, port 445, 139, 135. We have a MySQL server, which looks like I can't authenticate into. All right, and then we have RDP that's open as well. All right, so since we could see that port 80 is open, let's pay a visit there. All right, and let's see what's being hosted on port 80. And it looks like we do indeed have an instance of a process maker being hosted there. All right, so ideally we want to be able to further enumerate things, be able to see things such as which version is running and everything. We want to be able to authenticate into here because unfortunately it didn't give me a version number of what version of Process Maker it's running in order for me to then search for a vulnerability associated with the other version, anything like that. So um, so I'm going to do something a little different here. Let me see. Give me a moment. See if I can bring this into view. Yeah, I'm not sure if this can be seen on my screen here. Okay, I'm not sure if my screen recorder is picking it up. In case it is, all right. So I'm letting you know what I'm doing. So I'm using a Chrome browser here. So I'm gonna type into it. I'm gonna say process maker default credentials. All right. So what I'm doing here, I'm gonna search to see if the default credentials are public, and therefore I'm gonna test. Basically, I'm gonna test to see if it works here, testing the security um, of the um, of the process maker instance here to see if perhaps the admin on this or whoever installed this, if perhaps they left the the credentials intact and never changed them to something more secure and lesser known. All right, so I'm looking that up. All right, so not sure again if this can be seen, but basically it's Google's coming back and telling me that those default administrator credentials are admin, username admin, default and then excuse me um, password is admin, okay, and then it says the default workspace is workflow. So I'm gonna try to use these credentials to log in, and let's see if I can get a successful login here. All right. So waiting for that to go disappear. Okay. So this I know you can't see. So I'm gonna say admin user and password. I'm gonna say admin for the password. I'm gonna leave for the workspace. I'm gonna leave workflow alone since that is the default what I need for it to be set to by default in order to authenticate. So let's log in and let's see if these default credentials do work. And bam, they work. All right. So doing some enumeration here now that I'm in. I'm gonna click on I'm in the admin panel. I'm gonna click on users here. All right, we can see that I'm indeed the administrator. All right, so I have admin access here. So then I'm gonna do some, since I know that, I'm gonna do some other enumeration here to see if I can find a version. And if I can find a version, that's gonna help me a lot in terms of trying to look for some sort of vulnerability here. All right, so I'm gonna go to system information down here now that I'm in settings. All right, we can see here that it's actually running version 2.5.0. It's never been upgraded. All right, so there's no upgrades, no patches or anything, and it makes sense. Okay, so this is why we were seeing that MySQL database instance here from nmap because it's using that on the back end. All right, and then we can see the workspace workflow and everything. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try since I now have a version, I'm gonna try to look this version up um, to see if I could find a version specific vulnerability, and I'm gonna do that by using searchsploit. So searchsploit, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna just say searchsploit process maker, and let's see how many vulnerabilities or exploits I could find that are associated with any sort of vulnerabilities in ProcessMaker. And I found 4. All right. So I see like 2 version specific ones, a plugin upload. All right, but this last one looks pretty promising here, which is open source authenticated PHP code execution exploit. And so this one, it looks pretty promising because I'm actually have an authenticated session and I have credentials to be able to execute this. So I'm gonna go for this one since I actually do have credentials to be able to run this vulnerability. And plus these 2 vulnerabilities, they're a bit for versions that are a bit higher than the version that I'm currently running that are currently running, excuse me, on this target host. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to show here though, before I jump into that, I wanted to show, in case we wanted to see some links here, we wanted to reach some links um, um, as far as these exploits, all right, to to read about them a bit more in the exploit database. All right, in order to do that, I would just say searchsploit and then ProcessMaker again, and then I would just put -w, and this should give me a list of those links here. All right, so again, so these links here would take me to a more comprehensive breakdown of these exploitations and what it is that they are and how it is that they're typically how it is that these vulnerabilities are typically exploited. All right, so moving on. So since I'm going to be exploiting this particular exploit, it looks like that the actual exploitation script is in Ruby script. So I'm going to download that. In order to download that, first I'm going to change my directories because I want that downloaded to my desktop. All right. Now that I have that there, I'm gonna just do search exploit again. And this time I'm gonna tell search exploit, I'm gonna say -m, and I want it to download this specific I'm gonna give it the ID of the script. So that's 293.225, and I'm gonna leave off the extension, all right? And it should still download that without the Ruby extension. All right, looks like that was successful, but I can do a list here and confirm that, so we can see right here in my desktop here that this file is successfully downloaded. Now let's take a look inside and see if we can get a better understanding of this script and how it is that it works and what exactly is it exploiting within ProcessMaker 2.5. All right, so right here, all right, so it's the explanation. So it's giving us again, it's giving us the name of the actual exploitation, which is ProcessMaker Open Source Authenticated PHP code execution. So it's saying that this module exploits a PHP code execution vulnerability in the neoclassic skin for ProcessMaker Open Source, which allows any authenticated user to execute PHP code. The vulnerable skin is installed by default in versions 2.x and cannot be removed via the web interface. So when it says 2.x, more than likely that means any sort of 2 dot anything version of a process maker. All right, so this is again, like it's saying, this is associated with actual skin in the process maker application, and the PHP code, it basically allows any authenticated user to then continue to execute even more PHP code. So um, um, so basically, this has to be patched. If it's not patched, then someone can basically have an unauthorized access to the backend host, and we're going to see how that works. Okay, so and also, I'm sorry, also we see here the author of the exploit and everything here, Brendan Coles. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this, and that's pretty much all we need here, because I'm going to actually be using the Metasploit framework to automate the exploitation of this. So I don't really need this script anymore here, so I'm just going to remove it from my desktop, just so it's clear that I'm not using this, but I'm using the Metasploit framework to exploit the vulnerability. All right, so I'm gonna start up the Postgre SQL database here. All right, now I'm combining that with the step of starting up the MSF console, which is going to throw me into the Metasploit framework. All right. All right, so now that I'm in, let's see, let's create a workspace. And we're going to name this workspace ProcessMaker. All right, and then of course I need to set the target host as a global parameter, so I'm not having to continue to set that as I use different modules here in Metasploit. All right, and now I'm going to actually search for any process maker exploitation modules here, which I should be able to find, because if I found it using searchsploit, then I should be able to find it actually here within Metasploit. All right, so we can see two here. We see that that plugin upload exploitation module, and then we also see the one that I want, which is again the ProcessMaker Open Source Authenticated PHP code execution. All right, so I'm gonna say use 0 since it has the module ID of 0. All right, let's see if there's anything I need to configure here. So I'm going to show options. Uh, no, it looks like there shouldn't be anything I need to configure here, because it looks like that the password and the username admin is already set for me. All right, so it's already known that part of this exploitation is the default credentials um, not being changed. So we can see that that's already been set. Of course, our host is already set, because I did that prior to searching for the actual exploitation. And then of course port 80 is set, since this is HTTP related. All right, so I could just get this running. Let's do let's see, exploit. Let's see. Okay, so sometimes this happens. So sometimes it'll come back that even though this is set to the right thing, workspace is set to workflow, sometimes I may just have to set it for whatever reason. So I'm gonna say set workspace, and I'm gonna just set it to work. I'm gonna just go and set it to workflow, even though it's already set there. Sometimes you just still have to manually do it. I don't know why, but let's exploit it. Again, see, now it works. Yes, sometimes I don't know why it does that, but you just may have to manually just set the workspace to workflow, which is the default workspace. So it looks like we have a interpreter session open, and we can see here with the steps that where it's authenticating the user, admin, we can in the different backend processes, and we can see the PHP code, all right, running here. All right, so we have our interpreter session. All right, then next thing I want to do, let's Since we're trying to capture a flag here, remember this is a capture flag edition here. All right, I want to see what directory I'm in. All right, so it looks like that I'm actually in the administrator directory. All right, let's see, let me do a get UID. All right, okay, all right, I'm system. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to root and let's start from there as far as trying to track down that flag. All right, back in the root directory, I'm gonna do a list. And let's see here. Bam, there's our flag right there. All right, so I'm gonna say cat flag.txt. And there we go. All right, so there's the flag. All right, so that's basically CVE 2013 10035. That's the ProcessMaker 2.x exploitation of the of that particular skin. Going back up, I want to make sure I get the skin name correct. Um, Going back to the code here. I have to actually open that. But it's a particular, but anyway, just to explain what it is, it's a particular skin within the application that's running that's made a PHP code, and it allows for that more execution of that PHP code remotely or once authenticated in. It further allows more PHP code to run, which isn't necessary for what the application is used for, which could then cause an exploitation to the backend host and allow unauthorized access to that host here. As you can see, I've gained access here and have obtained a flag. Again, flag could always mean any sort of information or vital information that you don't want general public or unauthorized users to have, which they could then modify, delete, copy, exfiltrate, etc., etc. All right, so please like, subscribe, and share. Most importantly, show your work. And to next